The problem that a lot of us end up having is believing that it doesn't require work to get what we want. Social media has made it so hard for us to understand that we have to do the work in order to get the things that we want. That's included in relationships. That's included on the job. No matter what goal you're trying to achieve in life, it's going to require you to do some type of work or some type of sacrifice in order to get it. And until we stop making work a curse word, that is the only thing that is keeping us from actually having the things that we say that we want. Hey tribe, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, I am Coach Jocelyn. I'm a certified relationship and career coach, and I just love helping women to have healthier professional and personal relationships. And today I wanted to talk about the B word, and I'm not talking about the bleep, bleep, bleep word. I'm talking about bitterness. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it before you go clicking off and saying this ain't me or whatever, I want you to hear me out, because I think the thing is that a lot of us don't realize is that we've gone through phases like this, unless we're in it now, but we've gone through phases where we have become bitter with people, or we've become bitter at things, or upset with where our life is. And the truth is that we can go ahead and cast that down. We don't even need to be bitter, that there is a better way. And I wanted to bring it up because I just experienced this with someone in my life who I thought was a friend, who I felt like was a friend, but they spewed such negativity and bitterness towards me. Like, I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of their mouth. But I had compassion for this person because I realized that what they're feeling is bitterness. And oftentimes when we feel bitter, we will lash out at people, because don't misery love company. So, of course, when people are miserable, they want you to be miserable too, because they like, how dare you be happy, honey? What is your problem? I'm not the problem. You're the problem. You know what I mean? But I really wanted to talk about this because I had compassion for that person, because I remember having bitterness about my own business. Because if you're a business owner, then you know that it takes a few years for things to get started and for you to actually make a profit. There are some few people who are, I wouldn't call it a fluke, but I would say those 1 in a million type chances where the business just starts off booming. But for the majority of us, it takes time to build a business. It takes time to build relationships. But I blame social media for our bitterness. And the reason why I say that is because never in a point in our life, especially if you are as old as I am, I'm 41. So if you are old as me, then you remember life before social media, where you weren't comparing yourself to other people. You may compete with friends when you were in school and stuff like that, but you never compared. You would compete because we all wanted to grow and get better, but we were never comparing ourselves as much as we are now to other people. And I believe the reason that is because we have way too much access to people's lives and what's going on in their lives. And then the other part of that is that we're not even seeing the struggles that they're going through. The only thing that we get to see is the highlight reels, or seeing the things that they want us to see, seeing the happy moments, but we don't see the times that they cried. We don't see how long it took for their relationship to get where it is. And our first thought is to hate on it and say, oh, it's not real. Or even if we do believe it's real, we get into this place where we're like, well, why hasn't this happened for me yet? And you're comparing your day 58 to that person's 8-day 858. You know what I'm saying? So then when we begin to do that, then we start getting upset and we begin to get bitter. A root of bitterness begins to grow in our hearts. And that's why we have to uproot bitterness. I recently saw a sermon by Pastor Stephen Darby, and he was talking about bitterness. And he said that the root of bitterness is you shaking your fist at God and saying that you did not provide for me the thing that you said that you were going to provide. Why does this person have it and I don't? And that just blew my mind. Like, oh my goodness, but God is so good. But essentially, that is what we're saying, that I'm not patient enough to wait for the promise, or I'm not even positioning myself. And something that I realize is that a lot of times we don't receive the things that we say that we want. Number one, because we didn't work for it. We treat work as this type of curse word, like work is a bad thing, but you're gonna have to work to get to the thing that you say that you want. And I believe that along with our faith, we have the works, meaning that I'm positioning myself to receive what it is that I say that I want. So, for example, I can't say that I want to be debt free, but I'm not positioning myself to be debt free. What I'm doing is making it worse by continuing to spend, by continuing to buy, and ignoring the debt that I have, instead of taking it head on and saying, okay, this is where I'm going to position myself so that I'm in a position for God to bless me. I can't say that I want a healthy relationship with a man, but yet I don't want to spend time with me, or that I don't want to work on me so that I can be better for that person. Because the truth is that when we get into relationships, romantic relationships now are servitude. If you're going into a marriage is servitude. You're going to serve someone. It's not just about you. And I think we fail ourselves when we believe that everything is just about us, when it's not. The trick is that you have to serve someone who is willing to reciprocate to you the same service, who cares enough about you to sacrifice themselves and to serve you. That is the difference. But if you don't know yourself, if you don't have your identity, if you don't know how you need to be served, if you don't know how to serve others, which is why our other relationships are so important. Our platonic relationships are important because they can be real with us and tell us what it really is. They can show us, this part of your character sucks and this part of your character is great. This is what you need to work on, and this is what you're doing right. But we don't get to that point because we just be like, oh, well, that's just my friend. She just telling me that because of whatever. No, she's helping to prepare you for the mate that you say that you want. Same thing on our jobs. We need to be emotionally intelligent when we are on our jobs and speak to people in the way that they need to receive it. Just like when I was in the military, I could say the same thing, but I would have to say it 5 different ways so that everybody in the room could understand what the instruction was because everybody doesn't receive information the same way. So in the same way that we know that we have to work on these things, we need to actually do the work. And that's why it's like this root of bitterness. I'm telling you, I believe it comes from social media. Now, it could be from some other things too, but if you want to get what you want, the first thing I want to tell you to do is to fast from social media. You got to get off of social media because we know too much about what's going on in other people's lives that's not even relevant to our lives. Why is that relevant to you? We want to be happy for people. I'm not saying that anything is wrong with that, but when you begin to get to a point where you're starting to feel melancholy and you're like, oh my goodness, hold on, I'm starting to feel bad, then it's time to get off of social media and stay off until you can dig yourself out of that hole. Number 2, you need to have your own goals. You need to have your own focus. You need to be concerned about yourself. Eyes on your own paper. You have to be less concerned about what's going on with other people. You know what? I think the saying that older people used to say is like, don't be worried about what's on somebody else's porch. Sweep your own front porch first. Or however that saying go. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. But you have to focus back on yourself first. A lot of us lose our identity. We begin to feel like, oh, we're not good enough and stuff like that. Oh, that was the other thing I was gonna say. I believe that's where this imposter syndrome comes from. You're not an imposter. If you have the education, the experience, and all the tools you need to do everything that you need to do, then how can you possibly be an imposter? It's because a lot of people get on social media and lie about how long it took them to get somewhere, or they don't even say. They want you to assume that, yeah, I made 6 figures in 1 month and it ain't take me no time to get there. I can show you how. Girl, boo. It took you 7 years to make your first 6 figures. It took you 8.5 extra years to make your first 5-figure month. Like, come on, let's be real with what's really going on here. And I think that social media tries to kill our common sense and not, and the math don't be mathing, but we just ignore it because social media just told us that this is what it is. It's not. So if you're feeling that type of way about yourself, you need to write your own goals out and focus back on yourself. Focus on those things that you say that you want so that you can position yourself to receive the things that you say that you want. And then last but not least, forgive yourself for how you've been feeling, because at the end of the day, once you reach your goal, once you get married, once you get that job, once your business starts booming, once your relationships start thriving, there is going to be somebody else who is going to have this root of bitterness, and you don't want them to spew that negativity back onto you. So forgive yourself for how you feel. And if you need to, go ask the people that you were bitter to, ask them for forgiveness, because when we sow seeds like that, there is a harvest for that. So we want to repent and pull those seeds back up, uproot all of that mess, because we don't want that to come back on us and be like, well, dang, where did this come from? But let's not pretend like we haven't all been in this place, but there is a solution, and that is a solution. So I hope that these tips were helpful for you. Put the focus back on yourself. You have to love yourself first. And I think that the world has tainted this self-love thing. It's not so much about being self-centered. It's more about when you treat yourself in a particular way, it overflows. So then you begin to treat people in your life the same way that you treat yourself. If you mistreat others, you'll mistreat yourself. Just like when people display bad behavior, it's usually because something has been done to them. And so when we don't forgive, when we don't change our perspective, when we don't remove focus from things that kills our mindset and steals our joy, then we just miserable like everybody else. But there's no need to be miserable. You need to put the focus back on you. Learn what your identity is. Learn what it is that you truly want, and not because that's what everybody else have, but because you truly want it, and then position yourself to receive what it is that you want. So I hope that these tips were helpful. And as always, like I said before, I am a relationship and career coach. So if you are having relational issues personally or professionally, or you just want to get back to self, I would love to work with you. Go ahead and visit my services page on my website. You can chit chat with me for free, book a complimentary relationship audit, and we can talk about ways that I can help you to get back to your best self and your best life. Okay. I love you guys to life. I hope you have an awesome day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.